How's it going, guys? Figured we'd take time today to discuss a thing that's going to happen. Anybody that has any kind of internal combustion engine is going to run into this problem from time to time. We have a misfire. We can't figure it out. We're going to go through some of the basics to try to show you. Sometimes a misfire can be simple. Sometimes it can be complicated. It can be an easy problem. It can be a major problem. First is determining the misfire. There's several ways to determine a misfire. You can take temperature of the pipe. Easiest way on these motors that have an individual coil is you can just disconnect the coil one at a time with the engine running and see which one responds and which one doesn't. Now, once you establish which one's misfiring, which one's not firing, once you establish that, then you can work on figuring out why. Sometimes it can be as simple as a bad wire. It can be as simple as a bad spark plug. It can be as major as a hole in the piston or a valve dropped. But we definitely have an issue. We've tested all the other ones, predetermined it. I didn't want to start the motor up and do the unplug each coil thing because I don't want to get the exhaust system super hot. They got to work on it. I had to fool with it the other day and I got a couple burns from it. So let's try not to do that. We're going to start with a nice cold engine. We already know that it's this back cylinder on the passenger bank that's not firing. So when the engine running, I can disconnect the coils. This is the only one that doesn't respond. We've already verified the spark plug's clean and fired. First, you can buy a spark tester that'll plug in line and it'll light up. If you don't have a spark tester, you can use a known good spark plug. You can always take that, plug it into the coil, determine that the coil itself is working. So we would plug that in like that, ground that, fire the car up, make sure the coil's firing. We know this coil's firing, so we've eliminated that problem. You check the wire looks good, there's no breaks in it, no burns. Everything looks good, and when we plug the plug wire in, it's working. So we're going to rule the wire out, we're going to rule the plug out. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the spark plug out, and we're going to look at the spark plug, look at the condition of it. And see, I noticed too with this engine running the engine at 230 degrees because I shut it off and heat sinked it, let it get hot. But I noticed with the engine that hot, this spark plug here I can still handle with my bare hand, which is an indication that this cylinder isn't firing too. Because that spark plug should never be that cool. So let's go pull this plug out and check the condition of the plug. We've already went through this, but we'll do it again for the camera. It would have to be the one cylinder on the car that's the hardest to access because of the downpipe and the turbo kit. But let's go ahead and pull this plug. Get that out of there. We get the ratchet in there. It's a little tricky, but we'll get it. I'm going to pull this plug out, let you see it up close. And this can help too. Sometimes you pull plug out, if the plug's damaged, the plug has crud all over it, and you know we have an issue there. So we get the plug out. Okay. Okay, crack the plug loose. Alright, get the plug out of here real quick. Get it out of the way. Yeah, this is almost impossible when the engine's hot. You can do it, but even with the header wrap, it's still a little warm. Get the plug out, bring it over and let you guys take a look at it. You can go into wiring. Sometimes it could be an individual wiring coming to the coil pack. Could be an injector not firing. So we'll check all those things. Sometimes if you get one you can't figure out. Sometimes it's simple as just, I've had bad injectors where I've just pulled the rail real quick and swapped injector cylinder to see if the mis moves. If the misfire moves, then you know it's the injector. If it stays the same, then you have another problem. Alright, we got the plug out. Let's see. The plug itself looks clean. It's not filed. And so with a turbo, you'll run a very small gap because you'll blow the spark out. But the plug looks fine. Condition of the plug looks good. Okay. That said, we're going to probably have to remove this downpipe because we want to do a leak down test on this cylinder real quick and make sure the valves are sealing and we don't have a hole in the piston. So let's pull this downpipe loose real quick. Pull the V-band clamp off. I know older guys, once you get used to these V-band clamps, man, they're like the greatest things since sliced bread. They work so good at taking something apart quickly. Take the exhaust apart, put it back together easily, no problem. I'm going to disconnect the exhaust down here and make this downpipe a little easier to handle. Possibly. For action for that. Just get a 9/16 ratchet and a wrench. Okay, that's common. We're going to check that out. Let's drop this real quick. Well, let me go ahead and I'll pause this for a second and I'll get that pipe off and then I'll come back to you here in a second. Alright, what's going on, guys? I think we narrowed it down. We got a valve leaking. I don't know why, but we got an exhaust valve leaking. We loosened the rocker arm. We put air in that rear cylinder. Let's put the air chuck on it here. Try to do this with one hand. But let me set you down for 1 second. Set you down there. Alright, sit down without making everybody seasick. Now look, when we feed air to it, you're going to hear it come out the turbo. And then to make it, we'll go ahead and throw a wrench on here so we can, or a screwdriver in here so we can open the valve. See how I can open the valve? Well, listen though. So we got a valve leaking unless we blowed the head gasket. Now that could be a possibility too, but either way the cylinder head's got to come off, so you know how that goes. It is what it is. I mean, at least it's not like last time where we used to burn pistons, so I mean, that is what it is. We just got the valve cover off right now. It's definitely, like I said, it's either a valve or it could be a head gasket. I guess I could loosen up the exhaust valve on this side, which the exhaust valve looks shut, so I don't think that'll be it either. But let's loosen that up real quick and see. Need to take the extension off of this. Yeah, definitely though, it's a valve leaking. Or like I said, it could be the head gasket leaking. We're going to determine that right now, because if it's a blowed head gasket, it would be between the cylinders. So if we close this exhaust valve, then that should fix it real quick. We really crank that sucker tight. Okay. Alright, that exhaust valve's closed. This is an intake valve here. Alright, we closed the exhaust valve next to it. So let's try that again. I can take the plug out beside it too and see if it leaks across it. We'll do that real quick, because if I take that second spark plug out, then it should tell us if it's leaking or not. Let me grab the tripod here and set you guys up for a couple seconds. Let's put this tripod on. And I'll set you up. We'll pull that plug real quick. We'll look and see what we can do with it. Okay, let's get you on the tripod. Tripod legs straighten back out because it's one of them flexible little ones here. Alright, we got you there. Alright, I'm going to pull this spark plug real quick, and then the spark plug beside it, we'll pull it real quick, and then we'll hit air in there again, and we'll see how it responds. We'll see if it leaks or not. if we pull the spark plug beside it and we got air leaking too, then it's probably a good possibility that it's the head gasket. But right now, we're going to have to determine it, that's all. I'll find my spark plug socket here, and let's reach in here and get this plug out. Maybe an extension for this plug. Yeah, let's grab a 3.5 inch extension here. Pull this spark plug and see where we're at. Let's throw our socket around. I mean, it sucks because we just had it run and was out of joint. I mean, at least this is not our doing here, but this makes sense why it did pop the other day under load. We was out doing some test hits and it was running good, but then, like I said, it developed a misfire on the way home after some decent pulls. So now let's check and see if we got air coming out of the cylinder beside it. Because sometimes I've seen it blow a head gasket between the cylinders where it won't necessarily push coolant or pressurize the exhaust system, but it'll leak compressor from one side to the other. So we'll go ahead and thread our air holding fitting back in here. Connect this back up. Let's connect that up. Okay, now let's see if we got air coming out of the plug hole next to it. No, we have no air coming out there, so chances are it's an intake valve or exhaust valve. It's busted. I don't know. Maybe I'll time lapse the teardown here because I know you guys don't want to sit through an hour of teardown. So yeah, I'll time lapse that, but that should about wrap it up for now. Like I said, the original misfire we talked about, we figured it out. It's got to be an exhaust valve on that bank. It would have to be the difficult side, but such is life, and this is why we love cars. Alright guys, I'll catch you later. Have a good one.